Europa.
The European banking system is bigger than Europe in and of itself. With the use of leverage, a lot of European banks have been allowed to amass assets that are close to or equal to the size of the actual sovereign state that they're domiciled in. You have a country with a $1 trillion GDP, and they're housing 4 banks, and each of those banks have $600 billion in assets, or $800 trillion in assets. That company's GDP is outstripped by its banking asset base by 4 times. So if one of those banks run into trouble and their leverage, say, 60 or 70 or even 30 to 1, because they only have, say, 20 or 30 billion dollars of equity, they can't be saved by the country. And the problem is, not only can the country not save that one particular bank, but the banks are so interrelated that it's like a domino effect. So if one bank falls, it won't be able to pay its obligations to the second bank, which is its counterparty. If that second bank then has a problem, and then that third bank, and then the fourth and the fifth, so a domino effect. So the problem gets worse.
This area here, what you see here, these are empty lots where buildings were torn down to create condominiums and retail structures. As you can see, once the buildings were torn down, the market collapsed, and the feasibility of putting whatever they intended to build there no longer stands. What you see here is not what you see when you look at the balance sheet of many of the real estate companies. A lot of them are showing these properties at full value or just under what the value was when they were built. And if you take a look at it, they don't seem like they should be valued at what they were when they built because they're not occupied. You know, nobody knows how much any of this is worth. And this is just a small taste of what you've seen. You haven't went in any direction. You haven't been over the city.
But how do all these developers get the money to put up all these buildings?
Those people over there. It's JP Chase. They get it from the banks. The problem you see here is Spain. Spain is probably worse off. In the Costa del Sol region, in the coastal areas, you had rampant building that subsidized the government, and it was a significant amount of the Spain GDP. You had free rolling credit, and then when the bubble popped, you still have the housing structures, but you don't have the demand, and you don't have the financing to back it up. So you have overvalued properties sitting on bank balance sheets, very similar to here.
This is sort of the way you work, that you sort of compare balance sheets with reality?
Yes, that's what I do. Not just balance sheet. I compare reality with the economic reality with the reality that's reported on paper through companies and through the media, etc. When there's a discrepancy, I attempt to take advantage of the discrepancy. And that's the discrepancy on the upside or the downside. I'm not very emotional. I dislike it when I listen to the financial media and I hear terms such as you're pessimistic or you're optimistic. If you're pessimistic or optimistic, you'll probably end up being broke very soon. The key is to be realistic.